So, ladies and gentlemen, proclamation and gatherers, Saturday, 27th of February 2021. PNG talking with the prodigious top projects. Thank you all for coming in, joining the show, for watching, coming in, supporting the show, time and time again. We're trying to do a bit of netted research. Thank you ever so much for supporting the show. Our niche and market is to provide journalists, rather you guys lay back, relax, and listen. I'm not emphasising meditations, but critical thinking, imply, engage, not brain. See politics, things that are suffering through lockdown together. Of critical thoughts. My thoughts are probably may not be your thoughts, or be somewhat your thoughts. I listen to different evangelists. I don't agree with everyone's opinion, so the best way to not put someone down, but to put it down lightly is say, well, your thoughts are not your thoughts, and neither are my ways. But anyway, that's not getting to not putting people down. It's about putting back people down to build back better. I'm here to build back better. Everyone should come through, support the show, subscribe to Pop and Gavin's. I'm not doing this for the benefit of myself because I've got pragmatic, optimistic, ethical sense and style. I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been doing media studies since 8 to 15. So I know the difference between the tabloid newspaper and a broadsheet newspaper. And I know the difference between qualitative evidence and quantitative evidence. Qualitative evidence is hard facts. Quantitative evidence is word of sheep. Say like ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, I don't put that looking down to some mockery, something like that, but I'm saying, someone say you've done this, I don't know, threw a drink over something, your ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend, you got 10 people telling everyone that, that's quantitative evidence, it's not hard evidence unless you've got visual evidence, I've had ex-girlfriends, ex-wife, I could turn around and say my ex-wife with black eye, but in the next sense, if I took a picture of my black eye, what's to say? Quantitative evidence is visual when the person struck you. There's no point having a bruise on your lip or a busted nose than say that was a friend or girlfriend, your cat or your dog, because it's not quantitative evidence. You do get, although I do quite walk to the police, you get a portion of engagement, whether it's progressive bodily harm or previous bodily harm. Unfortunately, stays on your record. I was worked with a security guard, confiscated knuckle duster. It's classed as carrying an offensive weapon, firearms, offensive weapon and firearms. Got to hand it in and had it in the ship in the safe box. So I got arrested for carrying firearms. And for the fire knuckle duster, after anything you can. But what they should do on their campus. Oh, he was working markup. Oh, he was telling the truth. Oh, we will let this go because no one was struck with it either. It's something you get done for life. You can't wipe a clean slate, but what you can do is sit and still follow and your dreams. Follow your dreams. Regardless of your high nature, sort of person you are, you don't need to Bible or support. It is what it is. People want to make it, you let them be it, let them be. Let the sheep be sheep. True colours come out in the wash. I always say that true colours always come out in the wash. That's a fact. I'm still the same boy that I've always been. You know, I had our highest expectations when I was a child, and that's why I'm going to church in school. So, well, I tried to do more than when I was 16. I'm not bad. I'm never a bad kid. If you look at my blueprint, see where my academics come from. I'm a wise kid, very, very wise. Tell you many, many tales off the top of my tongue. I'm trying to get you into my faith page. Get into that. We're going to move on to the bit of I don't know what's going on right now. It's going to be good if it's not. I don't know. Nigeria. This happens a lot in Nigeria. I want to get through this because it's important. Nigeria, trafficking in Nigeria. A lot of human trafficking in Nigeria. Because the hot, do men get more sexually aroused in the heat? I don't know. Human trafficking. Never about women. Why men? Why do more men than women? Or it's not really spoken about for women. I don't know. We don't know. It's almost half the population is women. It's always back then. So, women that are accountable for some of it. It's never really spoken about. Usually parents, like teachers especially, have it more so than often. Teachers might be free. But it doesn't give it a right to touch a 15-year-old boy. I mean, if I was 15, and I don't know, 36-year-old touching me, then 50,000 wouldn't I? But theoretically, I was sexually involved in activities of 18. Got self-education, my head down in books and schools. Say, I like to sound very expert in my style and sense, but I want to get my head into business before pleasure. I like some younger folks have kids at age 16, probably a lot away at a young age. Anyway, Nigeria kidnappings. It's a hunt of 300 girls a second as abducting schoolgirls. Police in Nigeria have launched a search and rescue operation for 370 girls kidnapped from a school in the state of Zamfara. This is why you see a lot of Nigerian students. It's quite in Nigeria. The operation comes as 42 people kidnapped from a boarding school in a similar incident last week in the state were released. The kidnappings are carried out for ransom and are common in President Muhammadu Buhari condemned the latest kidnappings as inhumane and totally unacceptable. The United Nations Fund also condemned the abduction of the girls and called for their safe release. 2014 kidnapped of 276 schools in the northern eastern town of Chibok by Islamist militants Boko Haram brought global attention to the scourge of raids on schools in Nigeria, but the most recent attacks are suspected to be the work of criminal gangs. What is the latest from Zamfara? Nigerian police said in a statement that a coordinated search and rescue operation involved the development of both ground and aerial assets. Hi there, Ivan. Thank you for coming through. Was underway. 2 helicopters have been deployed. If people don't realise, I mean, we've got a lot of Nigerians over in the UK. You've got to be so friendly to them. You know, there really are nice people who are so thankful to be safe in our country. You know, it happens a lot in their country. Come over here, do university. You might see them in university, doing college. They're actually ones that I are very, 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 very talented, I'll say. They've got so many different talents, very, very ethical style and sense. You know, all they do is praise the Lord, and and they're beautiful characters inside and out. Every single one I've met, anyway. Police also appealed for calm. Residents of the town of Jangi, where the abduction took place, have reacted angrily, attacking vehicles that entered. The Vanguard newspaper said that a convoy of journalists was attacked by a mob. Friday's attack happened at 01 local time, midnight GMT, when a group of gunmen arrived at the government girls' secondary school in Jangi. Some reports say the girls, aged 12 to 16, have been taken to the Dangolby forest. Zamfara State has closed all boarding schools. No group has so far admitted carrying out the attack. What has happened in Niger State? A total of 42 people, including 27 students, kidnapped from a boarding school in Kangara, in the north central state of Niger, 10 days ago. Thank you, blessed be by the name, Ivan. Please give me a subscription. 10 days ago, they had been freed. An armed gang had stormed the school when the pupils were asleep. One boy was killed. The group was also taken to a nearby forest. The Niger State Governor, Abubakar Sani Bello, said in a tweet on Saturday, the abducted students, staffs and relatives of government science Kagari have it's a college, but they spell collage. Kagari have regained their freedom and have been received by the Niger state government. The release group is reported to have arrived in Minna, the state capital. No further details have been released as yet. I will sing shortly in a little while, buddy. If you're hanging around, I will do. Just got to get through some journalism. Why are school children being abducted? There's an analyst by Mayeni Jones, Nigeria correspondent. No problem, Ivan, no problem. Every time children are taken from their schools by armed gunmen in northern Nigeria, the kidnapping of the Chibok girls is mentioned. Similar raids took place before the well-publicised abduction, but they received little and never involved girls. But global attention generated by the British Black Our Girls campaign showed armed groups that a mass abduction of girls was a sure way of applying pressure on authorities, including asking for ransom. Although the authorities always deny paying, the government does not appear to have a strategy for stopping these incidents from happening. But 2 weeks ago, lawmakers from Zamfara State suggested offering amnesty to repaying kidnappers in exchange for sustainable economic opportunities. Thank you, Marnie. Appreciate it. But 2 weeks ago, lawmakers from Zamfara suggested offering amnesty to repentant kidnappers in exchange for sustainable economic opportunities. It is a controversial strategy, but one that yielded some positive results in the Niger Delta. We're sure of abduction in a crime after similar amnesty program in 2019. The government so far says it will not negotiate with criminals. In the meantime, schools in rural northern Nigeria are more vulnerable than they have ever been. So when you see the reason why, because their families want their children to have the best start of life, and they deserve it. They're nice professionals. There's a lot of English professionals over here that haven't got the same skills as the Nigerians. You can only but be happy, thankful that they're safe in our country. Same as any other foreign student, exactly the same principle, quite possibly. Who are we to judge? Boris Johnson.
The needles going into our arms every day by the hundreds of thousands, saving lives, protecting the people we love, and finally offering real hope. After the tragedy of the last year, after the unbearable loss of more than 100,000 lives, we mourn everyone. These remarkable herbal medicines are giving us a realistic way forward to restart our businesses, our lives. And these miracle vaccines also contain a lesson about our future as a country, about jobs.
We have serious issues to
We've
discuss.
got some good and some not so good stuff to discuss with the health secretary. And I want to start with a slight negative, and it was the fact that last week you were found guilty of unlawful conduct in relation to transparency of the contracts about PPE and so on. You haven't apologised for unlawful conduct, which seems an extraordinary position for a cabinet minister to take. Why haven't you?
Well, no, I won't apologise, because to apologise would imply that I do something differently. And given the choices that we were faced with in April and May, when there were very, very serious problems with access to PPE, and some people were going without, and the team were working so hard to have taken some of the team off those life-saving work in order to complete the paperwork on time instead of just over a fortnight late. That would have been wrong.
But you were found guilty of unlawful conduct. It seems to me a strange situation where a cabinet minister representing government is found guilty of unlawful conduct, but sees there's nothing to apologise for. I mean, surely, if you've broken the law, you should just say, look, I'm sorry I broke the law, but you seem determined not to do that.
Well, the reason is because if I were given my time again, if I was given the choice between doing work that saved lives or filing paperwork at exactly the right dates, I would have done the same, and so would you, Piers. Everybody would have done the same.
I think you could do both, can't you? I mean, surely you can try and get PPE,
And
which
more
you were
staff.
currently short of, and you can also ensure that your department doesn't break the law. I mean, why are the two things incompatible?
Because we were in a crisis. So the demand
That's your job in a crisis, to break the law and to do your job, isn't it?
My job's to save lives, Piers, and that's what we did.
Well, okay, well, let's come to that, because you also claim...
Well, no, you just let me answer the question. So the demand for PPE went up 10 times. So of course the team were massively stretched, and of course we hired into the team as well, but that itself takes a couple of days to get people in. And would you have given that choice, said it's okay, don't worry about signing that contract because we've got this paperwork, because otherwise Piers Morgan might have a go at you in a few months' time? No chance.
Well, or someone might find that you have broken the law.
That's an extraordinarily glib response to breaking the law. I would try and do both. I mean, you talk about PPE. You claimed on the Andrew Marr show that one of your justifications was that you had avoided any national shortage of PPE.
Yeah.
Well, that's just a barefaced lie, isn't it? We were chronically short of PPE. We hadn't prepared properly for this pandemic, and we got caught without enough PPE. We all know that. Why are you pretending that actually back in that first wave we had enough PPE?
I'm not at all. As I said just now, there were areas where it was enormously challenging, and there were areas where there were problems, but we never had a national outage of it. We were very close to that, but we didn't have a national outage of
What do you mean by national outage? Because we had literally NHS staff having to use bin liners because they were seeing colleagues dying. I mean, look at this picture. I mean, that's what the reality was. I would honestly have more respect if you just said two things about all this, because I watched it on Andrew Marr. I couldn't believe I was watching. If you just said, look, we did break the law, and I'm sorry for that. Here's my reason. But that your excuse wasn't that you avoided a shortage of PPE, because you didn't avoid a shortage of PPE, which is why nearly 800 health workers have died.
No, so we never had a national outage of it because of my team and the work that they were doing. And yes, as I just said a couple of minutes ago, yes, there were problems in individual areas, and your photos are testament to that. In fact, those photos show exactly what we were fighting. We were fighting to get the PPE.
Health Secretary. No, but you keep saying that there wasn't a shortage nationally. The point is, if there were shortages locally, an individual doctor or nurse or a care worker,
Yeah.
then there were shortages.
There were shortages locally. There was no national shortage because of the work my team did. And I back them 100%. You know, I think actually
Sorry,
we
I
better.
don't understand how you're doing the math.
Why do you sound so exasperated? You just be thought
Well,
breaking
I'm
the law.
exasperated for two reasons, Piers. One, because I think we should be on this program thanking my team. You know, they worked so hard.
Really?
And yeah.
Well, let's
Yes.
just analyse
And the
that, shall we?
second reason-
We have
and the second reason is-
your
and the
team.
second
I'm sorry,
reason
if you want to play that game with us, your
And
team,
the second
you
reason
and your
that-
team have presided over a woeful handling of this pandemic that has led to us having the worst death toll in Europe. 130,000 people dead. So I'm sorry if my first thought when you come on, Health Secretary, is not to thank you and your team for your brilliant handling of the pandemic. Because I don't think 130,000 deaths shows that you've handled it well. I'm sorry, I'm not thanking you and applauding you.
Well, so the second reason that I'm exhausted, and just said, when I said, can I ask the question, you said no, and what's the point of coming on?
Because you say there was no national shortage, then you say the pictures of health workers in bin line, it shows there was a shortage. There's an inconsistency there. Let's move on to
No,
that.
there's a
Piers Morgan. That was Piers Morgan, agent. Thank you ever so much for being patient. Back over to BBC News with the prodigious, the prominent Professor Johnson. Prosperous when only prosperity matters. Absolute populism. COVID. I lost both parents in 2 weeks. Ray and Rosemary Scoville grew up in the same street and were well known on the Isle of Wight. A woman described the horrific anguish of losing both parents to COVID just 2 weeks apart. Ray and Rosemary Scoville from Sandown of the Isle of Wight had been looking forward to their golden wedding anniversary when Ray, 76, fell ill. Their daughter Claire Apsey and grandson Simon said that their grief had been compounded by lockdown. Miss Apsey said she also felt guilty for being able to give them the send-off they deserved. The couple grew up in the same street and were well known on the island after a lifetime dedicated to helping others. Mr. Scoville who is also a hammer coach of the Isle of Wight Athletics Club, set up numerous sport initiatives for schools and was responsible for bringing events such as Park Run to the island. His 73-year-old wife supported his work, which included organising medals. What a horrific episode. Tragic. Absolute tragic. Imagine how their daughter feels. Loss of parents 2 weeks apart. Amid of results of COVID-19 symptoms and further death. Death do us part 2 weeks apart. Miss Apsey said that throughout lockdown, her father continued to encourage children to go running and send outside. He would also do errands for elderly neighbours, leaving shopping in their porches. They always wanted to do the best for people, she said, always thinking of helping others. In recent times, Miss Scoville suffered from a short-term memory loss. So on the 8th of January, when Miss Scoville was admitted to hospital, Miss Apsey and Simon, 14, moved into her care home. While Dad was in hospital, we were having to explain it to her, which is hard because she kept forgetting, and when Dad died, she would forget, so we would have to explain again. Miss Apsey said, adding she was heartbroken. Although she was allowed to be with her father when he died, Miss Apsey has said she was grown up and had to wear a face shield. It wasn't the ending we wanted, she said. A little over a week after losing her husband, Miss Scoville ended up in hospital after a fall. X-rays revealed she had inflammation in her lungs and she tested positive for COVID-19. She died 5 days later. Miss Atsby said she went very quickly. She had a pulmonary embolism. She added, "It's been horrific, really. The hardest thing is not to be able to share the grief." The funeral arrangements and contact with solicitor, which had to be done by email, has also been so critical, Miss Atsby said. I know someone close by has just lost their father due to, I think, COVID possibly. I'm not going to paint a picture. I'm not even going to say name because I don't know definite. But she's had to make alterations and sort out the planning of funeral. What a sad, sad tragic time. Their father was such a soul of the family household. As she used to go to the chemist, go shopping, take him everywhere. What a nice chap, and to lose him through such tragic times of the lockdown, trying to arrange funerals, trying to get involved with solicitors, just trying to get hold of all his belongings and kept safe throughout the family. When you leave a legacy for your children's aspirations. It's a shock. It's a massive shock to the system. Absolute shock for the whole family. When we had Dad's funeral, I felt so guilty. There were only 30 people there, she added. I felt so wrong because my dad was so well known. We were inundated with cards and flowers. She added that both received the most wonderful care at St Mary's Hospital, which had given her and Simon great comfort. Describe myself in how many words? Optimistic, pragmatic, and expert. Done job. That's my describe myself in three words. Absolutely. World War II bomb. Next up, World War II bomb. This is how many people have been had to evacuate their house. What shocking, absorbing information. In Exeter, found a World War II bomb in like a bunker, I believe. Just getting onto the computer is rather slow today. Really is going slow. Exeter, World War II bomb. 2,600 homes have been evacuated. More than 2,600 households have been evacuated after an unexploded World War II bomb was found in Exeter. Officers were called to University of Exeter halls of residents of the Glenthorne Road at about 9:20 GMT on Friday and declared a major incident. More than 1,400 students were evacuated from 12 halls of residence after the explosive was found. Devon and Cornwall police said work was underway for the controlled detonation of the device. On Twitter, the university said the device was discovered by builders on private land next to the Streatham campus. The initial cordon of 330 foot, 100 mile was extended to 1,310 foot, 400 meters on Saturday. Mourning and people in about 2,600 households have been told to move. Bomb disposal experts started examining the device at about 10 GMT on Saturday to decide how to deal with it. The explosive device is estimated to be about 8 foot long, 2.5 meters. I talk from everyone everywhere, absolutely. Chief Inspector Steve Alexander of Devon and Cornwall Police said the mitigation box was made using 400 tons of sand, and at some point today, all being well, there should be a big bang, which will render this device safe. He said it is responsible to expect this bang will be heard quite a distance across Exeter, and it will be important for people not to report it to us as an incident, as we are aware of what it is. He also said anyone not asked to leave their homes should stay to comply with coronavirus lockdown rules. BBC John Ayres said there had been unusual scenes of hundreds of students with suitcases, all marching down the street towards St David's railway station, away from university after finding somewhere to go. One student, Lucy, told BBC she was in a hall over 330 feet, 100 metres away from the scene, when she and neighbours were told to leave at about 6 on Friday, 6 p.m. on Friday, given her and moved hotels. She said, "We've been told we'll be staying here until Sunday," she added. "I didn't think it was that big deal until I realised how big it was and how people were taking it so seriously." The university said it would support those who are affected until the situation is resolved and buildings are reopened. It said, "We will communicate directly later today by email with those students who have been relocated." The university said on Friday night it could say exactly how many students were moved, as obviously many students are not back on the campus because of the COVID-19 situation. Thank you very much. I love how friendly my support is. My friendly support network is phenomenal. Coast Guard rescue officers, volunteers from Dartmoor Search and Rescue, and members from the disaster response charity RE Act were among workers helping with the evacuation. The RE Act said that the evacuations were completed about 11 a.m. Devon County Council and Exeter City Council staff have been working to support those in private residences to find an alternative accommodation, providing support to those who are particularly at risk or vulnerable, police said. The majority were staying with family or friends. Officers added, roads have been closed in the area and city rail services disrupted as a result of the discovery. The city was heavily attacked by German bombers in 1908 during World War II, particularly in May 1942 during the B-Decker raids. Before I move on, I mean, what do you think of our Prime Minister? I mean, if you don't like him, you got to look at his resume. Don't look at the way he speaks or the way he acts, if that's what you think, because he's very, very pragmatic with sense, isn't he? Very optimistic with intelligence. He shares lots of wisdom, knowledge within history of war, world wars, different genocides. Boris Johnson, his resume speaks for itself. He was a journalist when I was born, 1983. He then moved on to become a foreign officer, Mayor of London. While he's behind, back in Theresa May for several years. Then he became Prime Minister. He had a lot more to his legacy than what Theresa May had done. He was a lot better than John Major, David Cameron. Backbench for long, long periods of time, acknowledging where people, where other prime ministers, other ministers made the right or wrong turn. Sitting there observing people's different dialect, different jurisdiction, the way they speak, the way they preach across the whole dominion of the UK, giving people what they want to hear, building back better, putting different speaking mechanisms together to make people think you're an influential speaker, giving people what they want. You've got to inspire, not expire. You've got to be prosperous when prosperity matters. Try and lower tax brackets, higher wage bracket, make it better for the whole dominion of UK. Taking back our hydro politics, fishing rights, making our safety paramount. Exactly what Boris Johnson is trying to implement within our government. Absolute phenomenal leader. Some people, a lot of critics, if they're Labour, will try and pull us down, but we've been decades upon decades in the government. The Conservative were the ones that set up the government sector in the first place. So what everyone says to pull Conservatives down or push Johnson down, they're just hatred because they're not on the same team. Simple as that. So people that come by to give, come by with a bit of hatred or trying to rub me up the wrong way, you're not going to get anywhere because I'm hard-skinned. I know politics inside out. I know what globalisation is. And you get a lot of people come by and they're fascist or anexphobia idiots. You know, they're using their phone, wearing clothes, not knowing where they come from, probably China. Don't think about globalisation when they're being fascist or anexphobia or not thinking about qualities of humanities. You know, hating LGBT or anything like that. You know, qualities you have to accept every diversity across the UK, even for ethnic minorities or the BAME group. Does anyone know what BAME means? Black, Asian, minority, ethnics. That's exactly what that means. That's exactly why Black Lives Matter, because you know you're flying from Asia continent, isn't it? So it's probably your computer or your phone, you know, your computer device, your laptop, your iPhone, you know, your iPad. Coffee you drink is from mainly globalisation from Ethiopia or Vietnam. Tobacco you drink, same sort of scenario. When you start thinking outside the box, when you start becoming irrational, trying to become a critic against someone that's a critical thinker. You'll think about X, Y, and Z before you open your mouth. In other words, think about X, Y, and Z before you open your mouth.
All your watchers know what I'm saying, which is yes to individual problems. I know that, and that's what the team were sorting.
It's called a shortage, and it was happening in very large numbers of parts of the country. I call that a national shortage.
I'll just keep finishing the answers. And
You're so patronising, Health Secretary. We're giving you the chance to answer, but when you give a completely disingenuous answer, we're going to call you out on it. You know that.
I know that I'm giving the answers to your listeners, even if you're just going to keep interrupting.
We have viewers, and we're only interrupting because actually you're giving disingenuous answers. Let's move on.
The PPE buying team in the department and across Whitehall deserve thanks and our praise. And when you do that, then we can move on from this subject.
Okay, let's talk about, in that case, your pub landlord, Alex Bourne, who won £30 million in contracts to supply COVID test vials, despite having no prior experience for that. Initially denied that you and he had any contact via WhatsApp messaging, then admitted that you had. So what was your relationship with this guy, and what expertise did he have to deserve £30 million in contracts?
Well, as I've repeatedly said, I didn't have anything to do with that contract.
Thank you all for coming through. Really appreciate it, guys. Someone's going to
that position.
What was the messaging about?
Replied to the message. So, you know, lots and lots of people.
Let's knock at the door. Bear with me.
In this response, and all the people who came forward to help us as a country respond to this unprecedented challenge, they all deserve our thanks too. But all of this was done properly, done above board, and the National Audit Office have confirmed that.
I'm really struck by the fact that you feel incensed that we're not thanking you enough for your handling of this team.
I was asking you to thank the people who spent 18 hours a day, 7 days a week, for weeks on end, to make sure that we got the PPE that we needed and saved lives as a result.
You didn't save lives, did you? We've got 130,000 deaths, the worst death toll in Europe. We have one of the worst death rates in the world. We have nearly 1,000 health workers have died on the front line because they didn't, in many cases, have enough PPE. So I just don't know why I should be thanking you. You should be apologising.
Oh, honestly, you should team in particular, and there is no evidence of a link from a lack of PPE to any of the frontline workers who very sadly have died. Difficult pandemic for us to get through as a country, and I think it's incumbent on all of us, to recognise and acknowledge the public service that so many people have given.
I understand that people have worked hard, as Secretary. I understand people have worked hard. What I'm really struggling to be thankful for working hard in a pandemic when you're the health secretary.
Anyone looking to become a broadcaster, please message me. You've got, want to come up with broadcaster, you need a bit of a niche, a market. You need to think about what you want to overcome as a person. What you want to join a family, become a streamer. Anyway, Brentwood's Everlast Gym to close in Essex. The gym, as confirmed, they will not reopen on April 12th. And they will not reopen after lockdown ends. Everlast Gym in Brentwood confirmed that the fitness club will permanently shut down, even once gyms are able to reopen by April, according to Boris Johnson's roadmap. Within the roadmap, Boris announced shops such as gyms, swimming pools and personal care facilities can reopen on April the 12th at the earliest. However, Everlast Fitness Club in Brentwood will not be one of the branches to reopen. Since the pandemic began, Everlast Fitness encouraged its members to remain active with at-home workouts streamed daily on their Facebook page and YouTube channel. However, it is not yet clear whether they will continue this after the closure. Brentwood gym goers were informed of the closures with a statement saying, reopening when lockdown restrictions in England are lifted. There will be no further direct debits collected by Everlast Fitness Clubs from your accounts. You're not required to do anything with your debit card. This is automatically been cancelled by the account management team. We would like to take this opportunity to thank you for being a member with the Everlast Fitness Club. There you go. If you've got AMD results for your bank details saying Everlast has closed down, there you have it. You probably heard it already if you're a member anyway, because you get sent an email. Everlast Fitness Clubs are still opening new clubs, and we hope to see you in the future. The gym, which was located in Chindits Lane, Brentwood, offered swimming lessons, gym equipment, personal training. You know what, ladies and gents? I'm going to end that on a high note. It's a proclamation of the government. We had a short, sweet cast today. Thank you all for participating and listening. I've nearly done an hour, 44 minutes on my YouTube Castbox, an hour and 20 on live TV. Thank you all for coming in. We are sponsored by PSS Alarms. I'll give you the update. If anyone wants alarm systems on their property or their house or their business, please send me an inbox. We're located in England, around London, Essex, probably do Sussex, Suffolk, Hertfordshire, all them kind of areas. All London, south, west, north, east. Send me an inbox if you want your alarm systems done. Intruder alarms, alarm systems to see what's going on around your business, making sure your safety is paramount. Please message Proclamation News and Governance, and I will give you the contact details. PSS Alarm Systems, very adequate, pragmatic works carried out, very professional. I just want to say thank you all for coming in, supporting the show time and time again. We've currently got about 500 listeners. Thank you. You know, I do this day in, day out. Every day. We're going to build back better for everyone, build the economy system thriving throughout England. Thank you again for supporting the show. Just want to say take care. It's Saturday, enjoy your weekend. Don't overindulge in eating, don't overindulge in drinking, don't overindulge in narcotics. Have a safe journey. Wash hands, wear masks, keep distance, and stay in your bubble. That's all I can say. Have a wonderful weekend. It's Sunday, fun day tomorrow. Go for a brisk walk in the park with your children. Don't accumulate in groups of only out your bubble. Stay in your bubble. Be safe, not sorry. Take care. God bless. One love. See you on the other side, guys. Thank you very much for supporting the show.